Building Material and Geographies, Mapping the Shrinking Vernacular of Rural Bengal. Hello everyone, my name is Iqtedar Alam. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Architecture at Jamia Millia, Islamia. And I'll be talking about the shrinking material scape of rural Bengal. West Bengal, the only state of India which connects three major geographical features of the country, namely the Himalayan Belt, the Gangetic Plains, and the Bay of Bengal, offers an interesting landscape to study the shrinking nature of the material scape of the rural areas. The geographical challenges, in the context of the geographical challenges, as well as the abundance of local material, it calls for an interesting inquiry to trace the shrinking nature of the material scape of rural Bengal. This is a schematic diagram that I have developed in order to demonstrate how the industrially produced materials like cement, concrete are gradually taking over the rural realm. And, uh, and, and it's been a very, the phenomena has increased in the last 30 years uh, from 1991 until now. And it's important that we do talk about this changing phenomena uh, before the industrially produced materials take over the entire landscape of both the urban as well as the rural. Vernacular or indigenous is embedded in the local context. The climate, the materials, the techniques, the forms, the context, the concepts, the availability of local materials and the techniques to hold the material together is the most easily identifiable order of the vernacular. The following, as you can see on the screen, the following can be broadly defined as the orders of the vernacular. Materials, the availability of local building materials. Techniques, the techniques required to hold the material together. Form as a response to the climate and the landform. Context as a response to the social cultural practices, climatic factors, and economic constraints. And the concept of the vernacular, the idea of vernacular, often practiced with alternate materials to imitate the indigenous form. Now, introducing the geography of Bengal, as I mentioned earlier, so the rural parts of West Bengal, the only state of India which connects three major geographical features of the country, the Himalaya, the Ganga, and the Bay of Bengal, have in the last 3 decades witnessed a gradual transformation in its material scape, and at places, a sharp transformation. The machine-produced materials are now replacing the locally available materials. At places, the concept of the vernacular is being followed. However, the other orders have been compromised. The state of West Bengal can be broadly defined into 5 major geographical regions, namely the Himalayan Belt, the Sub-Himalayan Belt, the Gangetic Delta, the Plateau Delta, and the Bay of Bengal. The districts have been, for the purpose of the study, the districts have been classified under these broad geographical regions. So we have Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri, and Cooch Behar in the Himalayan belt, Uttar Dinajpur and Dakshin Dinajpur in the sub-Himalayan belt, Malda, Murshidabad, Nadia, Hooghly, Howrah, Kolkata in the Gangetic delta, then Birbhum, Bardhaman, Bankura, Purulia in the Plateau belt, and then the North 24 Parganas, the South 24 Parganas, and Mednipur in the coastal belt. The Himalayan belt is characterized by the presence of rugged hills and valleys, and undulating landform offers the challenges of site adaptabilities. The sub-Himalayan belt consists of partly coalesced region of alluvial plains and the mountainous landscape. The plateau belt comprises of undulating uplands with sporadic ranges and residual hills. The Gangetic Delta, on the other hand, is a fluvial landscape, offers plains comprising of levees. The coastal belt is an amalgamation of the levees and the small paleo channels. Each offers a unique geography and its own set of local materials. So, for the purpose of the study, the districts within the geographical regions have been identified, and the census of India was referred The data of the Census of India was referred to trace the change in the rural building material of 1991, 2001, and 2011 of floor materials, wall materials, and roof materials, and have been used to study the material scape of the rural part of West Bengal. The use of industrially produced materials has a very high environmental impact. The process of procuring, transporting, assembling, and finishing requires its own set of resources, contributing to higher embodied energies. In comparison, the indigenous materials are rooted to the place and contribute to a sustainable approach of building construction. So this paper aims to develop a ground for discourse on the alarming state of shrinking vernacular in the context of South Asia, particularly with the case of Bengal. For the purpose of the study, the materials have been characterized as indigenous and industrially produced materials. The indigenous materials consist of grass, thatch, bamboo, wood, ikra, tiles, slates, shingles, stone, and burnt brick. And then industrially produced, we have burnt brick, GI metal, asbestos sheets, mosaic, floor tiles, cement, and concrete. Now, so the Himalayan belt, again, as I mentioned earlier, the flooring material, the roofing material, and the walling material, the information from the Census of India was used from the Census of India and then analyzed. The calculations were all done based on the data available from the Census of India, which was predominantly on how many number of households have used these floor materials, what kind of floor materials, what kind of roofing materials, and what kind of walling materials. The Himalayan belt of West Bengal comprises of 3 districts, namely Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri, and Cooch Behar. In the last 3 decades, mud is being used as a predominant flooring material in the region, followed by cement and wood. There has been a sharp increase in the use of cement in Darjeeling and Cooch Behar in particular. The predominant walling material in the Himalayan belt consists of grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, polythene, etc. It is closely followed by wood. Wood has been used as a predominant material in Darjeeling because of its high availability in the Himalayan belt. Burnt brick, however, in the last decade has witnessed a sudden rise in its use as a principal walling material from 7.25% to 23.36% in Darjeeling. Burnt brick has also increased sharply in Jalpaiguri and Cooch Behar. The principal roofing material in the 3 districts of the Himalayan belt used by majority of the households is GI, metal, and asbestos sheets. The next important roofing material found in the region consists of grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, and polythene sheets. However, the last decade has witnessed a sharp decline in the use of grass, plastic, and polythene sheets. The use of concrete is gradually increasing in the region. In the sub-Himalayan belt, which consists of 2 districts, the Uttar Dinajpur and the Dakshin Dinajpur, the predominant flooring material used in the region is mud, followed by cement. The use of cement has increased 2 to 3 times in the last decade. Bamboo and wood has witnessed a gradual decline in its usage as a flooring material. Similar to the Himalayan belt, the principal walling material in the rural parts of the sub-Himalayan belt consists of mud and unburnt bricks. The use of grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, and polythene sheets are the next predominant material used for the construction of walls. There has been a drop in the use of temporary materials like plastic and polythene sheets in the last decade. The last decade has witnessed a rise in the use of burn bricks and sheets of GI, metal, and asbestos too. Then the principal roofing material in the sub-Himalayan belt is made of GI, metal, or asbestos sheets. The region has witnessed a decline in the use of tiles, slates, and shingles, which are the indigenous materials. However, grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, and polythenes are still the second most popular roofing material in the region. Concrete as a building material is witnessing a gradual rise in its usage too. In the Plateau Belt, which of West Bengal, consisting of 4 districts, Birbhum, Bardhaman, Bankura, Purulia, the principal building material used for flooring is mud. However, the last 2 decades have witnessed a 2-fold increase in the use of cement as a flooring material. The use of burnt brick is also on a gradual rise in the decade ending 2011. The use of stone has declined by almost half in the last 3 decades. For mud and unburnt bricks are the predominant walling material in the Plateau Belt of West Bengal. Though the use of these materials have decreased in the last 2 decades, the decrease in mud has been around 1/3 across the region. On the other hand, burnt brick, the next predominant material, has witnessed an increase in its use as a walling material. An average of almost twofold increase can be witnessed in the region. There has also been a gradual increase in the use of concrete, though the rise is not as considerable, yet the pattern of almost 3 times may direct a new course of industrially produced materials in the region. Uh, and similar to the other two belts, as discussed above, the principal building material used in roof construction is grass, thatch, bamboo, wood, mud, and plastic. Tiles, slates, and shingles are the next predominant roofing material, which has witnessed a gradual increase in its usage, which is good, particularly in Purulia. The use of concrete has also increased 2 to 3 folds in the last 2 decades, which is alarming. The use of GI, metal, and asbestos sheets has increased sharply in Birbhum, Bardhaman, and Bankura in the decade ending 2011. Then the Gangetic Delta, the Gangetic Delta in West Bengal comprises of 6 districts: Malda, Murshidabad, Nadia, Hooghly, Howrah, and Kolkata. Kolkata, which is completely urbanized, so data from all the other 5 districts have been used to map the changing materials scape of floors, walls, and roofs of the rural buildings. The predominant flooring material used in the Gangetic Belt is mud. Cement, on the other hand, is the next predominant material used in floor constructions. Malda, Murshidabad, and Nadia have witnessed a sharp increase in the last 2 decades in the use of cement. The use of stone, wood, and bamboo has decreased, and there's a gradual increase in the use of mosaic and floor tiles and burnt bricks. Mud and unburnt bricks are the predominant building material used for wall construction in the region. The next predominant walling material in the region is burnt brick, which has witnessed a major increase in its use in the decade ending 2011. The use of mud and unburnt bricks are on a decline. Grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, and polythene sheets are the next important material used in the region, predominantly in Nadia. There has also been a gradual increase in the use of concrete as a walling material. Tiles, slates, shingles are the predominant building material used in roof construction in the rural parts of the Gangetic Delta in West Bengal. Though the percentage use has been steady in most parts of the region, some districts have witnessed decline, such as Murshidabad and Hooghly. The use of grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, and polythene sheets have also declined 2 to 3 folds in the region. The use of concrete has increased around 3 times in the region. There has also been a gradual rise in the use of GI, metal, and asbestos sheets in the last 2 decades. Then the coastal belt of West Bengal comprises of 3 districts, namely North 24 Parganas, South 24 Parganas, and Mednipur. Mednipur split into Paschim Mednipur and Purva Mednipur in 2002. However, for the purpose of the study, the average of both the districts has been used for the assessment year of 2011. The predominant flooring material used in the region is mud. However, the last 2 decades have witnessed a decline in the use of mud and an increase in the use of cement. The use of cement has increased 2 to 3 times. The use of other conventional building materials such as wood, bamboo, stone has declined. Burnt brick is on a gradual increase in the region too. There has been steady growth in the use of mosaic and floor tiles in the last 2 decades. Mud, unburnt bricks, and burnt bricks are the predominant building material used in wall construction in the coastal belt of West Bengal. However, they have witnessed a sharp decline in its usage in the last decades in North and 24 South Parganas. Grass, thatch, bamboo, plastic, and polythene sheets are the next important material used in wall construction. There has been a steady growth in the use of concrete too, which is again alarming and should be noted. Wood and stone, on the other hand, has seen a decline in its usage. The coastal belt of rural Bengal uses tiles, slates, shingles as principal roofing material. However, the last decade has witnessed a decline in its use and an increase in the use of asbestos, GI, and metal sheets and concrete. The use of concrete has increased to 8 folds in Mednipur in the last 2 decades. North and South 24 Parganas have also witnessed a 2-fold increase in the use of concrete as a roofing material. There's also been a gradual rise in the use of stone and slates in the region. So after studying the changing nature of materials in the rural areas, I went on to then analyze the urbanization, the change in urbanization that has happened in the 5 geographical regions: the Himalayan belt, the sub-Himalayan, plateau, Gangetic, and coastal belt, and went into looking at each district, the change that has happened between 2011 and 1991 and 2011. The major change can be seen in the Gangetic Delta. Of course, Kolkata is a major contributor to it because of its 100% urbanization. And however, Howrah is around 14%, Hooghly is also around 8%. So it's an average of 31.6%. That's the urbanization, the increase has happened in the increase in urbanization that has happened in the last, since 1991. The next important region to look at is the Himalayan belt, which is Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri, and Cooch Behar, which is around 7.5% of change that has happened from 1991 to 2011. And then the coastal belt, which is around 7%. The Plateau belt and the sub-Himalayan belt hasn't been, hasn't witnessed such a increase in its urbanization cover. So the use of industrially produced materials in the last 2 decades has witnessed a sharp increase across the 5 geographical regions. The districts present in the Gangetic Delta, the Himalayan, and the coastal have the highest rate of urbanization, and it has resulted in the gradual penetration of the urban materials which are industrially produced into the rural realm of building construction. The rural settlements in the hills and the coast have seen the rise of cement and burnt bricks extensively, calling out on the threat of the shrinking vernacular. So the following measures can be taken up, which are the recommendations that I would like to make based on the analysis that I have done of the districts of West Bengal across the 5 geographical regions that were identified. That any new form of development requires to be preceded by a material harvesting map of the geographical region. So we should be aware of what are the various materials that are available, and the new development scheme should be in alignment with the material, existing material that is available, material availability in the region. The material harvest map so produced needs to be followed by a set of form grammars that can be developed based on the possibilities of the nature of the material. Also, the form grammar needs to be responsive to the climate and socio-cultural practices of the place. The form grammar so arrived for individual buildings thereafter needs to be assembled in clusters responsive to the climate, landform, and socio-cultural practices. So just arriving onto the form grammar is something that may not be a solution, but also how does the individual form grammars can then be composed together to form the clusters which are responsive to their socio-cultural practices as well as the climate and the landform of the place. The peri-urban areas, now this is a very important component that needs to be addressed, as the peri-urban areas which act as a transition zone between the urban and the rural requires a separate development scheme. For this zone contributes immensely to the changing material practice in the rural areas. For it's this particular zone where, where the first the industrially produced materials it's the first level or first interface of the edge of the city, which then gradually is being transformed to the urban area. So the peri-urban gradually then becomes the next urban, and then so it actually acts like a catalyst in allowing the industry produced materials to penetrate into the rural areas. So it's very important that a separate development scheme is brought in place for the peri-urban areas. And overall, the composite nature of the building material in the rural areas require exploration in a manner that contributes to less embodied energy. And I'm hoping that if all of these recommendations maybe are brought in place, then we may be able to arrest the shrinking nature of the rural material scape, of the vernacular indigenous material scape of rural areas of West Bengal. Thank you so much.